Welcome back, guys. Welcome to another Blues Fans TV podcast, Blue Balls podcast. I know you always love the name, handpicked by Sophie, of course, and the rest of the team. Welcome back. Again, before we get started, make sure you guys like, subscribe on the podcast. Let us know your thoughts below. We're going to be covering a range of topics from the last week. There's been a lot going on in the football world, everything from the coronavirus to our win against Liverpool. So, without further ado, welcome Daniel. Okay, how you doing?
Good. We can't shake hands. I think we've got to do the elbow bump. There we go. That's probably much better. That's the safest.
Yeah, I mean, since the last time we spoke, I think I was on your channel and, you know, the world was fine. There was no pandemic. There was no issues. Yeah. We could not handshake because it was online, but yeah, we would have been fine.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, as the time we're recording this, it feels like we're only minutes, hours away maybe from
the Black Death,
football being cancelled completely. So we have to enjoy it while it's lasting. But it's quite crazy how quickly it sort of escalated. I think like probably a lot of us predicted that this was going to be maybe a bit like Ebola a few years back, where we just thought it's going to be something that maybe hits a certain part of the world, but you know it doesn't hit us.
Yeah.
But it's just escalated, and more about what it affects, you know, football and Chelsea and what it's going to do to the rest of the Premier League season, because we were saying this before we came onto air, and I'm sure we'll discuss some more of this, is so much is up in the air regarding the Premier League season, you know, the Premier League title, specifically us, the race for Champions League football, how's that all going to play out? So it is pretty crazy, but let's hope, fingers crossed, it gets better and these games are able to be played before the end of the season. Yeah,
well, on to happier matters before we touch on the coronas, not literally touch because, you know...
Yeah, there we go again.
But yeah, so on to the win against Liverpool, which came to a massive shock to me. You said before you wasn't able to go to the game, which is a shame because you've been able to go to a lot more games than me this season. But to touch on that, like it was pretty damn perfect, you know what I mean? And then we followed that up with an Everton win, and I was like, wait, hold on a second, we're playing liquid football here, Conte season. So what was it like for you watching that game?
I think just talking about the Liverpool one, it was a surprise. I think it was more a surprise, and it was so unpredictable going into that game for a variety of reasons. Firstly, you know, you got, in terms of Chelsea, that Bournemouth game, and I think a lot of us after that, including myself, went, I don't know what the best formation is, I don't know what the best 11 is, pretty much anyone can play here, we don't really know. And also, what was Klopp's approach going to be like? And it very much felt like that defeat to Watford very much informed what he did that night. And when you saw the two teams, you did think to yourself, Liverpool got to be favourites here, and Liverpool are going to want to respond. But I think the thing that's excited me about the last two games, if you just connect both of them, is the energy and pressing that we saw at the start of the season that pretty much had left during these sort of harsh winter months, very much came back, that energy that we saw. And that's something that really does excite me moving on for the rest of the season. And they were two really good performances for different reasons. I mean, I loved, of course, Billy Gilmour, of course, I think we'll come on to, was a revelation and just an incredible performance for a player of his age and stature against a midfield like Liverpool. Kepa, I thought was brilliant. I thought I was so happy personally for him, because I think he's, you know, had so much scrutiny, a lot of people writing him off, and I think that was a big night personally for him. And, you know, beating Klopp is a big thing. It is, you know, I know more and more teams are doing it now in the last few weeks, but
shout out Watford.
but it still is, you know, an impressive thing for Lampard to go out there and do. And I think I always felt at the start of the season, for Chelsea to test Liverpool soon and to get to their level, you have to, a bit like how Liverpool did it to Manchester City a few years ago in the Champions League. I know it's to a different level and different teams and different stage, but you have to bloody their nose a bit. You know, we have to lay a glove on them, and we sort of close to do that against them before. Like we played well against them in the Super Cup, played well against them in the Premier League. But that was sort of the big thing for me. I think that the energy was back, and I loved seeing that from Chelsea.
Yeah, I think when we were at our best was obviously at the start of the season when we weren't pressing high, especially like some Mason Mount, Tammy. They were like really high up the field, really pressing, going out the defence. And we was creating a lot of opportunities, not even through chance, you know, your typical chance creation, Man City cutting through teams. It was more just win the ball high up the pitch and then just take advantage of the space. The reason why we probably may as well connect the two last games is because, you know, both of them were pretty complete performances.
Absolutely.
Very mature, which was a surprise to me. Usually when we're winning a game, I'm not actually very confident that we'll see it out in the most professional manner. It will be a late goal and we'll be a bit nervy. So many games come to mind with that. But we was actually in full control the majority of the time. Managed to get 2 clean sheets, which I think is huge, like you're saying, for Kepa's confidence. Which, you know, as great as our old man Willie's been doing, he was never really going to last long. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the point I want to make, and it's something I make on my channel, and I don't know if other people have made it on this channel, is like, the stats are not good for Kepa. They are. For a keeper
really
of his price tag and standing, you expect a lot better. But I personally have believed throughout just watching on the naked eye this year, in terms of just looking at Chelsea and the amount of chances we give and the quality of chances we give up to opposition, I feel like he's been hard done by, and I think that sometimes the stats make him look worse than he is, because by the end of the season, I'd like to look back at a compilation of goals we've conceded and see how many have been literally almost free chances for teams. The amount of times we concede a goal and you look at that and it's like, Bournemouth, prime example, free header,
right in the penalty
spot. The other one's an open goal, a really nice, well worked move, and no keeper has you're dealing with
the quality of chances,
the margin of error there, and you're expecting your keeper to make big saves, which is what you pay Kepa to do. And I think what the last games, especially Liverpool, proved was when you have a more stable defence that doesn't give up as many chances, you're giving your keeper a better chance of keeping clean sheets. That doesn't mean to say Kepa's been perfect. There are elements of his game that, even though I'm a bit more sort of I guess kinder to him, family friendly to him than others,
he can get quite violent.
I still do think there's a big goalkeeper in there, but I think that not conceding a chance against Liverpool after the 31st minute, was it? That was with that back quite four telling as well. I think a back four that we've been. I think this season has just broken the rules in terms of our expectations, in terms of who was going to work on what.
I actually tweeted on that game. I remember now so well. Now that you mentioned that back four, I remember tweeting if Kepa keeps it clean. I think it was like the 31st minute, and we were defending quite well, but I was never really that confident, because I was like, this defense, this back line is probably the least. Like if I could pick a defense to be less confident, the least confident in, I would have probably picked those four players. Was it Alonso, Rudiger, Zuma and Aspilicueta? I was like, out of all the back fours I could have picked, I probably would have picked that back four. And I tweeted, if Kepa keeps a clean sheet here, I'll change my name to Wiener Weapon, and I'll bloody buy a shirt and everything. And I just went offline. I was like, there's nothing to worry about. Come back and there it is.
Well, it's interesting to me, that back four, if you think about it, and it feels so long ago now, but that back four was, three of that back four was the back four for the majority of our 6-game winning run, if you think about it. For a lot of them.
Emerson did have a peak. He had a peak point before that international break.
But Emerson, I'm talking about that 6-game winning run in the Premier League, and it was a little bit longer, of course, with other competitions. But it mostly was Kepa in goal, Alonso, Tomori, Zuma and Dave. That was just Rudiger who was injured. Was the back four, and of course over that period you can show me Reece James came in, and that's of course the interesting thing. But that defines this season. Back fours and players that you don't think are going to do well, do better, and it's such an unpredictable season and an uncertain season. And I think as well, these last 2 games have proved with certain players like a Ross Barkley, like a Pedro, Willian, is that every player in this squad has got a chance. Every player currently. And that in some ways can be a positive and a negative, in a sense that we haven't really known what Lampard's best 11 is. No. But in truth, if you want to make it a transitional season, you might as well do it where Lampard's come in and he's saying, every player in this squad has a chance. Everyone can come in, and if you're good enough, it's a meritocracy. If you're good enough, if you perform well, you'll get more minutes. I don't care what the name on the back of your shirt is. I don't care what your price tag is. I don't care what outsiders think about you. You will play for me. And I think that I actually think this is going to sound stupid, but I think the Everton win for me is much more impressive than the Liverpool win.
Okay. Yeah.
For a number of reasons. I think Liverpool, we always know it's going to be a big game, and Frank Lampard's
they do step up to big games.
Have stepped up. The only ones that they haven't weirdly is United. That's the game.
Are they a big game anymore?
Well, they've been our kryptonite this year. They really have, and I think it's because of the style of football that United now play. They're a much more defensive team, which I think has hurt us. But
to be fair, they do have a very good record against everyone. To be fair, so it's not just us that's getting slapped up by Man United.
It is very strange, those games. It really is. But the Everton one, considering our home record this year, considering the injuries we had that day, I mean, it's just ridiculous. The 7 first-team players out here through injury or suspension, and the fact that Chelsea went out there and looked just so fluid and so confident.
The chemistry was there.
They looked like a team that had been playing well for months.
Yeah,
they look like a team that were right at the peak of their powers, and that is something that, to me, I think Lampard deserves much more praise for. But I know we're jumping all over the place. So
yeah. I mean, that's spot on. To be fair, the chemistry of that game was looking like a team that had played together all season. There's a lot of one-touch passing, a lot of flick-ons, a lot of really open play, chance creation, which is very rare from us. Just to speak on two players that you brought up there, Giroud and Barkley, because I feel like Pedro, despite the resurgence of form, is probably still going to leave at the end of the season on a free contract. Willian, I think, whether he's playing well or not is up for debate, but his contract situation is obviously tied up to whether he gets the years he wants. But in terms of Giroud, he was obviously very frustrated about not leaving in January, and then moving on to the fact that now he's always buckled down and just been part of the team anyway. He's been very professional this whole time, and rumours are that he's looking for a new contract now. Given the state of obviously Batshuayi, which plays a massive part in this, what would you do with Giroud now?
It's really interesting because I think, like all of us, we all expected him to be off in January. I was making videos saying, he's going to be off too. I think it was was it Inter Milan? I think it was.
Giroud. It was always
it was going to be an Italian team. Antonio Conte, the reunion there, and all the older players Conte was buying. It felt like a very natural fit, and of course Tottenham came in late for him.
Yeah.
It just once again it shows you that this season players can get a chance. And Giroud is that type of player. He always gives you a level of performance. Actually, one of the worst performances I've seen from him was against West Ham earlier in the year when he got that chance in that 1-0 defeat.
Yeah.
That's probably the worst I've seen Giroud play, because usually he gives you an expected level of performance. And fair play to him, because he's a motivated player. I think Frank probably has seen that. He's been forced because of Tammy's injury, but Mitchie got his chance, as he has many times for Chelsea, and hasn't taken them. I think I'm a little bit sort of relaxed on that situation. I think if Giroud gets the contract, I'd like to see that. I think that either one of Giroud or Batshuayi for me has to go.
Yeah.
I think that one of them has to move on, and I do believe Batshuayi will be that one, because I can't see a future with Batshuayi, because I don't believe a number of coaches now don't trust him. And you can visibly see why. He doesn't connect well with other players. You've got to think that, to me, when I'm thinking of like a striker for Chelsea, it's like, if you can't score a goal, if you're not going to score a goal in a game, there's other parts of the game that for me you have to do well to contribute to.
Yeah.
So even when Giroud's not scoring, he's adding something. He's holding up the ball. He's being physical. He's dragging defenders apart. He's linking up play well. He's always got that out ball, that you can hit to him. Kepa, time and again, to avoid the Liverpool press on that game, was hitting the ball long. It was the first time, the most probably long balls we've hit in a game this year.
But it's a good variance to our play, because to be fair, playing out from the back this year hasn't been really spot on compared to last year under Sarri. I think this year it's taken a little bit of a backseat. It started
the season quite well, but it has deteriorated, I think, because of maybe the uncertain play. But I do think that he can be a very valuable player. I don't think he's going to be first choice. I'd be interested to see when Tammy gets back to fitness at the end of this month, how that all plays out.
I really do hope Giroud continues to start, because much with many other player situations we're going to get onto, I prefer players in form to start. I remember when we had a really good double pivot of Jorginho and Kovacic at the start of the season. It was working wonderfully. Liquid football, beautiful connection between the both of them. And then Kante got back fit, and he was just brought straight back into the team because his name, like you said, back of the shirt is Kante, and it just completely screwed us over. I mean, our win percentage with Kante, world-class player, of course, but it's been nothing short of disappointing. So yeah, I definitely hope that any player in form right now, I know it's easier said than done, but they do keep themselves in the team, because at the end of the day, winning matches is all that we need to be focusing on, not playing players based on the name, so to speak. Obviously, just to finish up on Barkley, what are your final thoughts on him? Because it's not like it's the first time we've seen a Barkley resurgence in form.
This is probably the best he's played at Chelsea, because to get 2 games in a row, and really, if you're being harsh on him, I actually think he's had a couple of games. I actually think it's more than that, because I think he played well against Spurs, played really well against Spurs. Against Bayern,
everyone played poorly,
and it was against Bayern. So and he was playing really, in truth, out of position. He was still playing as an inverted winger. He's not an inverted winger. He's a central midfielder. And actually, people will probably disagree with me again. I thought he actually added something to the Bournemouth game when he came off the bench. I actually think he was trying to add energy to that game, and he was adding something to the attack. So he didn't start that game. And then against Liverpool and his old club Everton, he was just absolutely brilliant. He's been assertive, which is the one thing that you just don't associate with Ross Barkley. That run and goal against Liverpool was the Barkley of old that we saw at Everton, that I think excited many of us years back. And you wanted to see at Chelsea. And we've seen in brief moments for Chelsea, but he's never really done it consistently. And then to follow it up once again and do it again against Everton, his old club, which sometimes you see players have a psychological sort of block against their old club, was brilliant. He dominated Everton. He I think about 6 key passes, 2 assists. I'm sure some stats.
His general play as well was quite impressive. Away from the stats, like just the general link-up play, the intelligence, the being actual press resistance for once as well.
Confidence with him, it's like
it's very much
the biggest problem. And I could a lot of money if I get a pound every time I say this, but it's like my biggest problem with Barkley is that you can watch him at his worst. You can see what he's thinking on the pitch. He's overthinking on the football pitch, and that's where he makes mistakes. When he's actually a little bit more confident, and it probably is the sign of a player. He's had injuries, he's been in and out the team, he's probably been uncertain about whether he was able to get back into the team. But I think you've got to give credit to Barkley for his character, as Lampard stated post Everton, to keep on working, to say to Lampard and to give Lampard the impetus to put him back in his starting 11, and he's taken that chance. So at the moment, players like that, I know people have bugbears about certain players, but it's like at the moment, you got to be playing players based on form. Just because Barkley has been poor in the past, at the moment he's playing well, so he should be playing. I know injuries probably does help players like Ross Barkley and probably helps players like Pedro, but it's this season. We've got to focus on this season. Next 100%. Season, of course, is a different story. We don't know who's going to be here next season and who will come in during the summer. But Barkley absolutely deserves praise. He's doing really well at the moment, and let's just hope it continues, because if he keeps on playing like that, he's going to be a really good and impactful player for Chelsea.
The final players, obviously, just from the last week that I want to talk about is Billy Gilmour. 2 man of the match performances, absolutely incredible. I think only the world has now woken up to the talent that we have, but a lot of Chelsea fans for a while have known that Billy Gilmour is quite special. Now, unfortunately, that has come with Jorginho mentions, and you can call it slander or whatnot, but that even some of my friends were saying that they heard from Matthew Harden end against Everton, I believe, we don't need Jorginho or something like that. It's an interesting debate that's now going to start, because it is very much they play in the same position, they have a similar type role, and it's really experience and longevity in the first team versus a new kid on the block who seems to offer more defensively. Although Jorginho has great stats for interceptions and tackles and whatnot, just getting around the pitch and maybe being suited to the Premier League. Billy winning headers, recovery tackles, being just that little bit quicker, seems to be getting a lot of love from the Chelsea faithful. So what's your opinion on the matter, and what would you do with the situation?
Billy's done amazing. What hasn't been said about him already, you could just heap more praise on him. He looks so assured, so confident. He added balance to our midfield, which is something we've lacked, and that's not specifically Jorginho's fault. I think that's been a problem even before Lampard arrived. That whole Jorginho Kante thing last year, which did get a little bit tiresome by the end, I think, because I think actually that worked by the end. I think Kante was really helping out the attack, and I think Jorginho, what you have to realise about Jorginho is a bit like Marcos Alonso, he's a very specialist player. He's a player that has to work in a certain system and has to, I think fundamentally, you have to have good movement in front of him. 100%. If you don't have good movement in front of him, he can get isolated, he can get overrun. That can still happen in a game. I'm going to admit, I am biased towards Jorginho, because I love sort of the story of Jorginho and his time at Chelsea, and how much, I think a lot of people were so against him last year, and sort of, I was there when he was sarcastically cheered being substituted against Wolves, and you sort of thought this player is going to really struggle to win back fans, and I don't think it was personally his fault. I don't think anything in his character is wrong, but it was to do, of course, with Sarri, which I'm not going to bring up once again.
We ain't even going to go,
but
that's a buzzword.
But personally on Georgie and sort of looking at what he did, and of course Gilmour's doing really well, he really is, but I want to make a comparison between Dave and Reece James, seeing how that sort of position has, how it's worked during this season and what Lampard's done. Reece James, I think a lot of us probably thought, he's going to play every game. And he's going to play, all the time. That hasn't happened the last 2 games. Chelsea have won convincingly the last 2 games with Dave as right back. And you think of all the wealth of experience Aspilicueta has and what he's done for Chelsea and the consistency he has. Yes, he's not the long-term fullback, but just because Reece James will be a really good player for Chelsea. He is. I don't like, me, I don't like going overboard.
You don't like it.
I don't like going overboard on young players.
Everyone just keeps throwing out generational.
I really don't. That is one buzzword I really don't like, because I think it gets thrown out so often for players. But I personally think, with Gilmour and James, these are two future players for Chelsea. But I don't think people shouldn't forget that at the start of the season, when we had our best winning run, Jorginho was at the heart of that midfield with Kovacic.
Yeah.
Those two have a really good chemistry, and it's why you have a squad. You know, I think it's so sort of symbolic of the times we live in that we have a really positive thing with Billy Gilmour coming in and playing so well, and this is another player that's come through the Franks and Lampard's given a chance. It's working really well to just go, oh, now we need to discard another player. It's like, we're so blessed at Chelsea actually to have a really stacked area.
Yeah, and we should keep it like that.
And we should keep it like that.
Yeah.
And Jorginho can still be a really big player. Gilmour is the future, and considering his age, like Reece James has had, he's going to have setbacks. He's going to have moments of probably doubt. He doesn't look like that at the moment.
Yeah.
He's a big character, and he's even though he's small in stature, he's big in character, which is what Lampard says. I love that quote. But just because of the natural sort of growing pains of a young player that all of our young players have seen, you know, Mason Mount's a prime example of it this year. Started really well, and you would have gone, oh, you know, he's undroppable. And he's gone through difficulties. Tammy's gone through difficulties. Tomori.
They all have, really, isn't it? Yeah.
And just because Gilmour's playing really well now, I don't, you know, this is not a criticism of him. He's just, I don't want people to go overboard and say this player is going to be
the next
world class
Xavi or
and he's
Iniesta.
going to play 10 out of 10 every week because it only takes one game and
everybody's going to flip.
You know, experienced professionals can get done in games. You know, Lampard knows that more than any, and it's about coaching these players right. I think personally to understand when maybe to take them out, when to take a Reece James out, when to bring in a player like Dave for a big game like Liverpool, and we need a big performance, and you can still get performances out of that. You know, it's all about sort of using the squad, and I think that's what Lampard's done really well, is use the experience, lean on that experience when we've needed to. I think Gilmour will be the future, but don't discard Jorginho. Don't think that just because Gilmour's had 2 good games that Jorginho now needs to be thrown out. And you never know. People may say this sounds ridiculous, but it's like this season, don't discount anything. Jorginho and Gilmour could play in the same midfield this season. And when people tell me that can't happen, it may not happen. Would anyone say that Ross Barkley would be playing regularly and be
with
one
Mason
of Chelsea
Mount as well in the same team?
That midfield. Would anyone at the start of the season say Billy Gilmour, Ross Barkley and Mason Mount would be a central midfield for Chelsea come March? I know we've had injuries and that sort of forced Lampard's hand on Sunday. But you could see that same midfield starting again on Saturday.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So both of them are really good players, and I just hope that fans don't get into like toxic debates with each other, because when that happens, it gets really divisive and it's not fun. And that's the good thing about this season. We've had unity, which is big.
Well, in the stadium, Twitter isn't it?
Twitter is Twitter.
Twitter is Twitter. Onto the thing that we mentioned earlier, the whole elbow thing. Let's just quickly brush up on that, because it's obviously going to affect football. It's going to affect us. Manchester City versus Arsenal has been cancelled for tomorrow. In terms of crowd control and looking at the way it panned out last night in the Champions League, or a couple of days ago when this goes up, PSG had no fans in their stadium. It was quite a weird lack of atmosphere, even though they were outside the stadium making noise as well. And that's quite telling, that the fact that there was still a huge crowd gathering outside the stadium. So I don't know if that fully worked, but it definitely brought the numbers down. What's your thoughts on the whole situation? Would you cancel the Premier League season if the virus continues to get out of control? Would you just play games behind closed doors and finish it?
I know a lot of people don't say this nowadays. I'm not an expert, so I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'll leave that to more intelligent people who know about these medical issues, but I don't believe they'll cancel the Premier League season. I think they'll probably do it behind closed doors. I think they'll probably, based on what I've been reading, I know the Times did a piece on this, the Athletic did a piece on this, where it's like they're thinking about, of course, going behind closed doors for the time being, and I bet probably they're hoping and praying, the Premier League are, that it sort of dies down in the next few weeks, and if they have to play games behind closed doors for about a month, let's hope by the time we get to the beginning of April, after that international break, we can go back to the way things were. But based on the way this is spreading, US have just had a travel ban from flights from Europe.
NBA, of course, suspended as well. Serie A obviously suspended before.
I think La Liga's probably going to go in the same direction. Belgian football's just gone behind closed doors. That's it's what to expect. I just hope that fans, especially the Villa game on Saturday, are noted in time, because it does mess with fans if they're especially, I'm sure Arsenal fans it was similar the other night with Manchester City, getting such late notice. I'm sure they were Arsenal fans, because that game was rescheduled already. That was a game that was rescheduled, and there's already been talks about the international break potentially being a place where games that have been called off could be played. But Euro 2020.
Yeah, that's
what's going to happen with that.
Yeah.
That's been talked about being moved a year, but then when you look at actually all the tournaments being played a year on from now, they ain't going to have the time to do it. I'm just going to say I don't know. I think that's probably the safest answer
smartest
at the moment.
Answer you could
the smartest answer at the moment, because that it seems to be changing by the hour. But I would say with some certainty that we will have games behind closed doors, because the fact that we've seen it sort of trickle down effect of it started happening in the Champions League, it's happening in the Europa League. The madness to me is just Liverpool playing in a full stadium against Athleitco last night.
Yeah, I mean, this is my thing. It's like, so obviously there's games behind closed doors, but why now have we got some games not behind closed doors? It's very inconsistent. For me, if it's going to happen, it should be across the board everywhere.
But it is like this thing about like the broadcasters and the money and the wealth involved with these things. I mean, imagine telling Liverpool and BT specifically that their big second leg tie doesn't have fans in it. Yeah. Now, of course, to the logical person, you go, health is at first. 100%. That's got to come first before football. But as we know, out of the least important things,
before money.
Football is the most important thing, and money and profit goes to the top of that list as well. I just personally think something's going to happen, because it's increased so rapidly recently, and it is frustrating. It is a bit concerning, because it is disrupting sort of the norm. Yeah, especially at a period of the season that's so crucial. So
I mean, if this could have happened in October, I mean, I would have been a little bit more happy with the situation, because at least then there's no conclusion. I mean, a lot of people are talking about cancelling the Premier League season just because they don't want Liverpool to pick up the trophy. It's going to be very interesting. I think we spoke about off air, how are the Premier League going to award final positions when really mathematically things are not done.
If they cancel it, if they cancel if they can, you just play the game. All the games left in the Premier League season, you play behind closed doors. It's the same thing, no problem. I mean, the question I'd asked, as I tweeted out this morning, follow me on Twitter at Son of Chelsea. I tweeted smooth plug. Something that I did tweet is like, if you lift the Premier League title behind closed doors, did you really win it? Does it really count? It's like, what is that thing, like a pipe bomb going off in the woods? If no one's there to hear it, does it really happen? That's the big question. But no, I think hopefully we'll find out more. We're just two guys on a podcast sitting in front, in a studio just talking about this stuff. I mean, I'm not everything. It got declared a pandemic the other day, and I'm sure like a week ago we didn't expect that to happen. Really, it's just impossible to know. But hopefully it doesn't ruin football, because I don't know what we'll do with all our spare weekends if the season just gets cancelled.
Man, I don't even know what to do during my international break, let alone spare weekends. To finish up and to move on to Villa, I guess a Villa preview, so to speak.
If the game happens.
If the game even happens, but we'll just pretend that it will for now. What would be your team? Let's run through our teams here. Because obviously we're playing on form. I think Jorginho is still suspended because he's got 2 games suspended.
One more.
Injury-wise, I think everybody is kind of still in the same. I don't know if there's been any updates. Yeah.
Something tells me, I think Cover may be back. Of course, we're recording this before Frank's presser.
Of course, yeah.
So I've got a sneaking suspicion I think Cover will be back. I think Pulisic might be in the squad. And I think Ruben. Yeah, Pulisic played a behind closed doors game the other day.
Okay.
And I don't know, I've just got a sneaky feeling that we've had this with Ruben though. We thought that Ruben was going to be back earlier than he was.
Well, I'm to be on Ruben, I'm very glad that they're actually bubble wrapping him, because to be honest, I do not, if I see him get injured again due to him being rushed back into the team, I'm going to lose my mind.
It's the same with a lot of players. Like you could say the same about Pulisic, but I just made me think. But no, my starting 11, same back five basically. So Kepa, Dave, Zuma, Rudiger, Alonso. I think if Cover's back, maybe bring him back. But I think, that midfield works so well, attacking wise. You expect Villa, the sort of the form they're in at the moment, they're going to sit quite deep. They're going to be a defensive side, and we need to attack. Cover can be really good at unlocking defences. But if his fitness isn't there, then I'd go with the same midfield three. We've had a week rest, which is good. Which we haven't had a lot this season. So Gilmour, Barkley, Mason, and I'd go with the same front three. Pedro, Giroud, and Willian. Because I think all those players are in form, right? And I think it helps. He really lent on that experience. I think the experienced heads of his squad really showed up last week. They haven't a lot of times this season, but they have. And if they, Pedro's got this knack of as we get to the serious end of the season, he really turns up.
Same with Giroud as well.
You know, but that is experience. That is winning experience. These are players who've been in big matches and won, and they know what it's like to turn up. You know,
on the big stage,
the intensity at the right end of the season.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough because I expect a big reaction. Villa needs to gain points. It's pretty simple now. They got absolutely whacked by Leicester the other night, they need. And I'm fearful of Jack Grealish, because if there's one player in the Premier League
that can really turn on against us, it is him.
I mean, to me, I think everyone talks about Maddison Grealish. I mean, I know he didn't turn up the other night, but I think Grealish is an incredible player. I mean, he drags that Villa team.
I feel like Maddison is more part of a very good system.
He's a very good player.
Team, but Grealish can actually drag a team, and we haven't really. If you're going to liken it to a team being dragged, you can maybe pick up a Hazard or someone. For us, it was similar.
And as well,
kind of effect.
Villa Park has been a bit better this year in terms of it can be a really intimidating place to go to if there are fans. I just forgot that. If there are fans, I mean, if there's no fans, then that element of course gets taken away.
Tumbleweed.
And can really impact a game like that, because that is something that can really lift the Villa players. And if they don't have their crowd on their side for a big game that's hopefully will help them in their fight against relegation, that can be a benefit to Chelsea. They can just go out there on the pitch, Chelsea. All those elements are taken away and they can just play their game.
Our home form's been quite abysmal anyway, so maybe no fans will actually help us.
Maybe
we play all our games for the rest of the season away from home. We'll just win everything.
But let's just hope that it's confidence and it's starting well and being clinical. I think those are the three things that just it's those elements that we haven't seen, especially at home this season. But in games against Villa actually. In the game at Stamford Bridge earlier in the season, that was a really tough game. They played really good football, Villa, that night, and we've got to be wary of that. You know, just because we played well last week doesn't mean we're going to win again. And we haven't won back-to-back games since November. Back-to-back Premier League games, since November.
Since November, as I beautifully tweeted out.
Which is, it's a big stat.
It's
and
mad.
It's a stat that if Chelsea want to get Champions League football, they're going to have to win back-to-back games. I look at this next period of games, and of course this could unravel on Saturday. But you look at the next period of games and you think that Chelsea, if they can put a run together like they did earlier in the season, win about 5 to 6 games,
qualify. 100%.
I think we will qualify. I think
everyone around us is so inconsistent.
Well, Man United are doing really well. Bruno Fernandes has really changed their fortunes, but you never know. I mean, they go to Spurs. I know Spurs have been abysmal, but Agent Jose hopefully will work his magic once again. You never know with Man United, because Man United have struggled against. They've done really well in big games. Big games have been that's
almost a pillar to their season, to be honest, because they didn't have those games. God knows where they would actually be. Probably in a similar situation.
I mean, but it's been those games that they're supposed to win. They've still got to play Sheffield United at home, I think. They've got some other teams they still got to face. So it's gonna be interesting. But I think that Chelsea just got to keep winning, and fingers crossed we can get that Champions League spot, because it'd be absolutely massive for Frank
huge.
Lampard.
It's needed for that transfer window as well. For me, I'd probably play the same team, mainly not even just because the same team would be playing their own form, and I believe in rewarding good form, but also we don't actually have much players behind that. If we look at our bench on the last game, there's a lot of youngsters, obviously some first team debutants, and any player that's coming back this week is still going to be a little bit niggly. I don't really want to risk it. I think if we've been losing and we've been playing poorly, then there'll be that temptation to throw in a Pulisic into the starting lineup, throw in a Kovacic. We're in good form, and we're playing against a team low on confidence, so I think keep the same team high on confidence, keep the stars on the bench if they are back fit, touch wood, and just go with the same team. That's basically what I would do going into that game, because it's just for me, what we really need to do as well is get our injuries back. We really need a squad back before obviously Bayern, very little chance of progressing there, but the FA Cup as well, if we want, I would love us to go on and win that, and there's no reason why we can't challenge for that if we have a squad. 100%. That's basically our rundown from all topics, so thank you for joining me on that. In terms of finishing up, we're going to obviously go through the standard procedure that I convince you guys to, if you haven't subscribe. Before we get onto all of that and me dragging you, first of all, your channel, let's talk about your stuff and as well, what any plugs, anything going on. I know you have a YouTube channel, Son of Chelsea. You were doing really good work on that.
God, there's lots of stuff to plug.
The stage is yours.
I just literally got so much stuff at the moment.
Same, so do I.
So I've got Son of Chelsea, of course, YouTube channel. Hopefully link will be in the description box below.
Yes,
or just search Son of Chelsea.
Sammy will be on that.
At Son of Chelsea on Twitter, which is sort of the hub of everything I sort of do. I've been writing articles pretty much all season for the Chelsea Echo, Absolute Chelsea, and I've recently joined your site, All Things Chelsea. just on that, I've been, already drafting a Ruben article.
Oh, brilliant.
But I've been waiting for him to come back.
Yeah.
So until he comes back, that article isn't going to be released. So hopefully, fingers crossed, sooner rather than later. I've also, basically almost going up to daily content now on my YouTube channel. I started that. So,
and I've been on there a couple of times, so make sure you go over there and
we'll
check
be on there
it out
in the future as well. So, and also I've got a podcast coming out as well. So all that stuff. So go and check that out. Really enjoy being on here, and hopefully you guys go and check out and enjoy it.
Yeah, the links will be in the description. Now onto my plugs, because I have so many plugs. I've said this before. Obviously, where I'm most active is on Twitter at Matisse Amani, or MAH if it's a tongue twister to type in. Obviously, the publication, hopefully links will be in description as well. All things Chelsea. Like I said, we have talented writers like Daniel writing. We have a lot of a variety of articles that we put up, match experiences, so you get to see how our writers, what they feel like at the games, and get a little story of how they view the game there before the match, and stuff like that. Obviously as well, previews, reviews, your standard stuff, and onto Blues Fans TV. Make sure you're subscribed, make sure you've liked, commented, let us know what you think of the podcast, the topics we've discussed. Obviously we've talked about a lot of things in terms of Billy versus Jorginho. How will that play out? What do you think? What are your opinions on that? Obviously the coronavirus, ding ding, beautiful, elbows again. And just obviously the Villa preview. We've got a big game coming up, we need to win that match, and it's predominantly based on if we get on the top four, if the season gets cancelled or not, but we do need to go and just pick up those points mathematically. If we get ourselves sorted potentially before the season even gets cancelled, that would be brilliant. We wouldn't have any debate, we wouldn't have any issue with Manchester United and the rest of the teams below. So subscribe, comment below, and we'll see you guys very soon for the next week.